Hello, my name is Christy Byram, and I'm here today to share with you information related to the Barcelona Principles of Measurement. The Barcelona Principles were first established in the year 2010 by a consortium of marketing, communications, and public relations organizations, most notably the Public Relations Society of America, PRSA, and AMEC, the Association for Measurement and Evaluation and Communications. These Barcelona principles are of paramount importance because they are setting a new framework for how we measure and monitor public relations on a global basis. So let's take a look at the first Barcelona principle. The first principle relates to establishing goals. Any public relations practitioner who enters a public relations initiative must first establish goals. The Barcelona principles delineate and define this as a very important component of the plan because we will find ourselves measuring back to the goals and objectives. The second Barcelona principle relates to measuring the effect of outcomes, not outputs. Traditionally, public relations practitioners have often fallen down in that they measure the outputs, generation of news releases, media interviews, media placements, etc. However, business executives will point out that this activity should not be mistaken for progress. And in fact, it's of vital importance to measure the outcomes of the public relations campaign, not simply the activities. And this brings us to our third Barcelona principle, and that is measurement of business results. Corporations undertake public relations programs for a multitude of different reasons: to enhance awareness, to remediate in the event of a crisis, to enhance brand management. All of these are business objectives. By implementing the Barcelona principles, public relations practitioners more closely ally their communications activities with business practices. The fourth Barcelona principle is that media measurement requires both quality and quantity. Any public relations practitioner who is trying to generate awareness for their client may look to small space exposures, may look to theme-oriented pieces, as well as feature-length stories in order to expose their client to the media. However, it is important to note with regard to the Barcelona principles that it's not only a matter of quantity, a matter of these hits, as we call them in the industry, but it is a matter of the quality. How is the subject treated? What is the tonality? What is the context? What exactly is the media outlet? Is this a credible, authoritative media outlet? All of these things come into play with the Barcelona principles. The next Barcelona principle that we will discuss relates to add value equivalencies. Add value equivalencies are no longer acceptable as a global standard for public relations. Up until this time, many public relations practitioners have looked at perhaps an article that would be generated, say an 8-column-inch article in a magazine, and then looked at the advertising rate card and said if the client had purchased this this as an advertisement, this 8-column article, it would have cost X number of dollars. Therefore, we have generated X number of dollars in add value of equivalency. Well, you can easily see that this is not comparing apples and apples. In fact, This add value equivalency is apples and oranges. And for the first time in our history, public relations practitioners on a global level have determined that add value equivalency is not a proper metric. Let's move on now to the sixth Barcelona principle. This is that social media can and should be measured. Now, there are many different types of technologies out there today that will measure social media. It's important to note that a social media technology, is not, in fact, a measurement campaign, a measurement initiative. The public relations practitioner must intersect the measurement technique of social media, just as they do other measurement techniques, by defining the business objectives. How do we measure back to the business objectives? Course correction. What are the sequential steps of intervention, measuring, and monitoring a campaign moving through time? And lastly, the seventh Barcelona principle relates to transparency and replicability. With the Barcelona principles, we are now moving into a new era of global transparency. We are able to see the implementation of communications campaigns, and we are able to measure back to them and measure their effectiveness so that professional public relations practitioners can course correct, alter, adapt, and be more precise communicators for their corporation or for their client. The second dimension of the seventh principle relates to replicability. And this means that measurement campaigns, public relations campaigns, should be established in a way that can be replicated so that best practices can be established and that business objectives can be achieved. So overall, we have the 7 Barcelona principles. Together, this ushers in a new era of measurement and responsibility for public relations practitioners across the globe. Thank you.